Hello everyone, Cerceon here. How are you all doing today? This here is the Crimson Mirelands, an expansive marshy habitat which a plethora of different Pokemon call home. Just don't ask why the sky is screaming. It only makes it angrier. Which brings me to why I'm here. It's Safari Week, a week-long event where shiny hunters all over the world are called to their safari area of choice to chance an encounter with a shiny Pokemon which may very well turn tail and run.
It's on the Spanish game, so I'll count in Spanish. 0. Fled. No shake.
Or they can do whatever this is. But this is Legendsarceus. How am I supposed to play on an even playing field with everyone else? Simple. First of all, I'll be locking myself out of engaging any shinies in battle. This means I won't be able to weaken or inflict any status effects on said shinies. And second, I'll be running with a limited inventory to better simulate the classic Safari experience. However, there are 3 additional rules I'm gonna have to follow for this year's Safari Week. Rule number 1. I must attempt to teach every shiny I catch English to improve the overall Pokemon comprehension level. Rule number 2. I'm not allowed to throw any stones at said shinies I encounter. Only Safari issued Sharon Mud and Sharon Snacks. And finally, rule number 3. I'm not allowed to use my Pokemon as traversal tools. Oh, I almost forgot. Everyone meet Lucky, my shiny Gumi, an invaluable partner I caught during my Shalpha map quest, and the slimy so-and-so who will be joining me during this adventure. And to answer your question, Lucky, it most certainly won't. Ah, but that's the thing, Lucky. Watch and observe. As you can see, you're the only Pokemon in my party. And bam! A wild Weirdeer has decided to spontaneously allow me to ride upon its back. Well, if anyone wants to dispute my logic, they can argue their point in the comments below, thus boosting this video's engagement in the almighty algorithm. Amen. Now let's get this journey started. However, before that, I'd be remiss not to mention the shinies I caught before Safari Week officially started. Said shinies include a female Hippowdon and male Sudowoodo I caught while farming Sharon Snacks in the Coronet Highlands, along with a Carnivine I stumbled across while scouting out my Mirelands route. Alright y'all, you may not be officially part of Safari Week, but I'll teach you some English nonetheless. Today's word is Advent, which means beginning or arrival. As in, I caught y'all in the advent of Safari Week. Understand? Alright, with all that out of the way, let the Safari Week montage begin. Alright, it's the end of day 1, so it's time for y'all's mandatory end of day English lesson. Today's word is flabbergasted, which can be used to describe when either you or someone else has been overcome by shock or surprise. Can any of you give me a sentence using this word? Alright, we're getting somewhere. Onwards to day 2. Okie dokie, it's the end of day number 2, which means it's time for another mandatory English lesson. Today's word is conjunction, which refers to the joining of 2 or more objects, sentences, or states of being. Knowing this, can any of you give me an example of a conjunction you've come across recently? By Arceus, we may be getting somewhere with this. With that said, on to day 3. Alright everyone, time for another end of day English lesson. Today's word is juxtaposition, which is the act or instance of placing things side by side for the purposes of comparing or contrasting them. For example, the juxtaposition between my safariweek luck and MapQuest luck is staggering. Now it's your turn. Very good. You guys are on your way to learning the wonderful and stupidly complicated language that is English. And with that said, onwards to day 4. And just like that, it's once again time for yet another English lesson. By the thousand arms of Arceus, how do teachers put up with this? Okay, today's word is generational, which can be used to describe something significantly influential for a person or persons of a particular generation. As an example, many of you could describe being caught by me as a generational event. Knowing this, have any of you experienced a generational event prior to this? Alright, y'all are getting the hang of this. And with today's lesson adjourned, we can move on to day... Yeah, this day was my worst yet. The fact is, both Lucky and I were suffering from Mireland's fatigue and desperately needed either a change of locale or shorter route to take. It didn't help that I already had a lot of the Mireland shiny decks already completed, which took much of the zinc out of catching some of these Pokemon. So I took a quick look at my decks and jotted down the 4 Pokemon I wanted to find most before Safari Week ended. Those Pokemon were Ralts, who I needed for either a Gardevoir or Gallade, Togepi, who I likewise needed for both Togetic and Togekiss, Zubat, who I needed to complete its evolution line, and Pikachu, who I would need 4 of to complete its evolution line. But enough about all that, I've yet to teach the 2 of you your English lesson. Oh. Well then, on to day 6. Alright class, welcome to your Day 6 Mirelands Dex English lesson. Y'all's word for the day is perspective, which is used when one views an object, person, or situation from a mental point of view rather than a physical one. Who here would like to give their perspective views on being caught today? Okay, I'll be sure to keep some of those comments in mind. Now, on to the last official day of Safari Week. Okay class, welcome to the final Mirelands Dex English lesson. Your word of the day is hedging, which means to control or limit a loss or risk by supporting or investing in more than one result. As an example, I'm hedging my chances of finding my 3 remaining targets by taking part in their outbreaks whenever possible. Can any of you give me an example of how you can ensure your own safety by limiting risks you take in your day-to-day lives? And with that, it's time for... I still had 3 targets, Togepi, Zubat, and Pikachu, and the easiest of those 3 to catch would be Zubat. To do so, I would take a small lap around the Obsidian Fieldlands secondary area at night whilst participating in any Zubat outbreaks I came across as stated earlier. And even though this bat had evaded me thus far, today was the day it was finally secured. Alright everyone, now that I'm no longer running through the Mirelands, it's time for our very first Fieldlands Dex English lesson. The word I'll be teaching y'all today is recurrence, which refers to a particular instance which has been previously repeated, as in finding a shiny during these map resets has become an irregular recurrence. Can any of you think of a particular recurrence you've experienced? Very good, very good. No hard feelings, yeah? Anyways, on to... With my second target secured, the only two I had left were Pikachu and Togepi. Thankfully, Pikachu had a 40-ish second scouting reset where they could be checked close to the Heights camp. Quickly resetting this area would not only score me plenty of encounters with both Pikachu and Pichu, but also hand me some outbreaks with the raw yellow rodents and Togepi, along with some generally useful outbreaks I'd attend from time to time to secure some off-chance shinies, which is exactly what I set out doing. Well, looks like we'll be having a split class today. Not to worry though, you'll still only be learning one word. And today, that word will be persevere, which is defined as the continuance of an undertaking in spite of counter-influences or opposition. How many of you can give me an example of a time you had to choose to persevere through difficult times in your lives? Well, I'm sorry to hear so many of you went through some rough times in the past. And to the trio of Starly, so am I. This was the deadline for Safari Week, and desperate times call for desperate measures. So I began doing the rapid map reset method to quickly generate Pikachu and Pichu outbreaks, with the only other outbreak I bothered checking being Scyther and Eevee because the former only took 6 seconds to check, and the latter was a special exception. At 352 rapid resets, I found a Pichu outbreak, which was a dud. At 397 rapid resets, I found another Pichu outbreak, which was also a dud. At 517 rapid resets, I found yet another Pichu outbreak, which, you guessed it, was a dud. It wasn't until 616 rapid resets that I found my first Pikachu outbreak, and just like the Pichu before it, it too was a dud. Finally, at 625 rapid resets, I finally found my raw yellow rodent. I never want to hear someone say outbreaks make shiny hunting easy. With Pikachu caught, I spent my remaining hours trying to hunt the Raichu in the Mirelands whilst ping-ponging to any random outbreak that piqued my interest. And here's what I got. And that does it. 2,200 map resets over the course of my Safari Week adventure. But we're not done yet, because now I need to evolve all my dupes in order to fill out my shiny living decks. To do this, I went over to the Cornet Highlands to farm the Alpha Rhyperior and Golem for candies whilst catching some Magnezones in order to acquire a few metal coats. In order, I evolved a female Starly into Staravia, my male Ronks into Curlia, then Gallade, my Togepi into Togetic, my Grottle into Torterra, a male Starly into Staravia, and then along with a female Staravia, a Staraptor, a female Abra into Kadabra, and then along with a male Kadabra into Alakazam, my Ponyta into Rapidash, my female Rhyhorn into Rhydon, a spare female Rhydon into Rhyperior, my male Onix into Steelix, my male Scyther into Scizor, and finally my Happiny into Chansey. And that concludes our evolutionary montage. As you can see, I wound up using a good portion of the shinies I caught, 44% to be exact. And here's the progress I currently have on my shiny living decks. I'm pretty sparse on the latter half, but that's due to my escalated luck during my Shalpha map quest. And now it's time for our final English lesson. Our final word is gratitude, which is a strong feeling of appreciation to someone or something for what they've done to aid you. And I cannot express my gratitude to you final Pokemon, especially Pikachu, for making my first ever Safari Week one that I'll probably remember for the rest of my life. And I'm just as grateful to all of you who've made it all the way to the end of this video. If you've enjoyed watching my quirky little adventure, then feel free to give this video a like. And while you're at it, leave a comment detailing how your first or current Safari adventure fared. Anyways, that'll be all from me. Take care. and have a great rest of your day.